Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Magic Hour. I'm Jamie Mendez, spiritual intuitive and oracle. I am, for most of you are familiar with my page, Magical Me. I am also co-owner of the Oracles of the Light. And tonight we have a special live segment that I wanted to offer, or just kind of come on and connect and discuss a really interesting and popular topic that a lot of people really like more information in. I have a special guest with me today, and that is my sister of light, my partner, and my partner of Oracles of the Light, or one of them, Lindsay Wieand. Lindsay and I are soul sisters. We're going to tell you today all about how we met, how this topic actually connected the two of us, and we have some stuff that we want to share with all of you. Before I go ahead and talk a little bit more about that, I'm going to go ahead and invite Lindsay into this live video right now. So bear with me one moment. So welcome, Courtney, Lindsay. Okay, so let's see. Lindsay, for some reason, Lindsay, it is saying that it's not allowing me to add you. I can add everybody else that I see popping in. I see Bridget, Courtney, Shelly, Barbara, Angela, but not Lindsay. So, Lindsay, what device are you on, if you could, because I did test run this thing and it worked. So, let's see. Just bear with me one second, everybody. I'm kind of communicating back and forth with Lindsay here. I click on my phone, hold on, had both open. Ah, that might be why. Okay. Interesting, because when you responded to me, it has you popped up as Oracles of the Light, Linz. Hi, Lauren. Welcome, everybody. Jillian. Jillian is tuning in all the way over from Scotland, and it is 5 hours ahead of us. So she's quite the trooper and soul sister supporter. So thanks for staying up into the wee hours, sweetheart, and tuning in with us. Maggie, hi, sweetheart. Welcome. Okay, Linz, I'm going to give it a try again. Okay. Now, Lindsay, I think you just have to make sure that your camera is actually horizontal. You did it. Yay. We worked it out. Look at your awesome background.
I'm sitting on the floor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. I'm sitting on the floor too. So.
I was going to see if I could pull it up on my computer just in case I could see comments too. I'm not sure if that will mess things up though, so I'm going to try that.
It may not, but you might hear a really loud microphone noise, but maybe.
I'm going to turn the volume down.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, Lynette. Laura, you too. What a trooper. Laura is also over in Portugal, so she is 5 hours ahead as well. So you guys are awesome. Thanks so much for the support. Cynthia, you made it. Oh, you're working at the same time. Welcome, sweetheart. Lynette, Deborah, welcome, ladies. Thanks for being here. Did I miss anybody? Nope, I think not. So I'm just going to keep it 100% real here. Lindsay and I are obviously, we are not sitting somewhere in magical, well, both of our houses are magical abodes. However, we are not in some force field that is, you know, without background noise and real life. So we're both just going to let you know in advance. Anubis barks. He barks often during my Magical Me live videos. Lindsay has children who are not long for bed. I also have children and family. So if you hear background noises, we're going to apologize in advance, but keeping it real, this is real life. Okay. Hey.
Yes, they're loud, and they were already crying like 5 seconds ago.
That's okay. Hi, Jewel. Welcome, sweetheart. Thanks for being here. So, I didn't go over too much because I wanted to wait until you got here, Lindsay. Hi, Faye. Welcome. So, first of all, welcome to the Magic Hour. I do hope to make this a little bit more permanent. I will be kind of bouncing back and forth with the Magic Hour between Oracles of the Light and Magical Me. The reason that I'm doing more of the Magical Me is because I'm going to be doing something different all the time. I don't think that this is going to be something weekly. I wish in a perfect world it would be weekly. However, right off the bat, next Sunday is my birthday. So obviously, I'm already not going to be able to do this next Sunday. But I do hope to do this twice a month. So maybe every other Sunday. I will always announce it and I will announce the topic. It also gives me time to get things put together. And I always would like to have a guest with me speaking. So it gives me a little bit of time to get things together. Hi, Karen. Welcome, our other sister of Oracles of the Light. Thanks for being here, doll. So it is going to be kind of back and forth. I'm going to be doing a lot of things, a lot of different topics. So this is always really going to be an opportunity for me to speak about topics that I don't often get to. Yes, I do Moon Day on Magical Me, but I don't always get the opportunity to speak about things that are important or things that come up throughout the month. So, for example, tonight we're going to be talking about ghosts. I say ghosts in quotations here because really that's just kind of what most people know it as. We like to refer to it as spirits or loved ones, but not all spirits are loved ones. So it's really a broad category, which we're going to go over a little bit tonight. So welcome, Freddie. Thanks for being here. So we're going to be talking about the month of October and this veil that you might have heard some people talking about. And what is this veil? We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how the veil actually assists in higher spirit activity or ghost or paranormal activity. We're going to be talking about how loved ones are. There goes Anubis. After the god of the underworld, by the way. we're going to be talking about how our loved ones who have crossed beyond the veil, how they try to communicate with us. What are some signs that maybe we can give you to help you with being a little bit more aware? And more importantly, this is just really an opportunity to bring a different perspective to the average person that might have a very fearful perspective about dealing with spirit, that might have a more commercialized or television type of understanding about the paranormal. It's really just to bring awareness. And I think on that note, I want to state a disclaimer because I think it's necessary to say that, our way isn't the way. It's not, I think that it's important for people to know that everybody communicates with spirit uniquely. Everybody senses spirit differently. So you could have a room of mediums and every single medium could tell you that they sense and connect with spirit differently. So we are going to share what we know. Do you hear that noise?
My son is yelling downstairs. Is that my noise?
It doesn't sound like yelling. It sounds like some sort of like crackling and like something interesting. So I'm not going to be surprised about that either. We'll get to that. And it's funny how it stopped the moment I called it out, you see. So there's always something interesting happening. And we're going to ask it to behave itself and so we can get through this. So sound frequency and sound waves or any type of electronic devices actually are huge transmitters for spirit activity for them to try to communicate. So it's funny because I feel like that's already starting to happen. So Faye says, is how thin the veil relative to the person? No, not at all. And we are actually going to have a question segment, everybody. So if everybody can just hold their questions till the, it's not going to be the end, but a little closer to the end, closer to maybe I'm going to try to do that around like 7:45 if we can, or 7:40. We will have a question segment and we'll answer as many as we can.
Yeah, I can turn mine off. I have my computer on. I don't have sound. The sound's entirely off, but if it's interfering, I can turn it off. I just won't be able to see any comments, just so you know.
No, I think
so I'll click it off in case.
I think you're good right now. I don't hear anything.
Okay, I turned it off just in case.
Lynette said she heard it. Okay. All right. So yeah, we'll get, great question, Faye. We'll absolutely get to that for you too. Okay, sweetheart. But really, no, not necessarily. The veil is the veil. And the only thing I will say about that really quickly, without getting too far off topic, is I think it does depend heavily on how sensitive and in tune the person is. I can say that, but the veil is the veil. Okay. So, disclaimer, yeah. We aren't the end all say all. We are not here to change anybody's beliefs. We are not here to change. It has nothing to do with religion whatsoever here. We are just here to share our own personal experiences and how we personally communicate and have, because both Lindsay and myself are intuitives as well as do medium-like work. So we do communicate. We like to call ourselves spiritual communicators because we do communicate with spirit of all forms, of all shapes and sizes. So it's not just limited to those who've crossed beyond the veil. Lynette, you're funny. So yeah, so that's important to know. Okay, so if this resonates with you, fantastic. If it doesn't, that's completely okay as well. Okay, and again, we're just here to help spread a bit of awareness and just to help, and hopefully each topic every time I air the Magick Hour will do just that. That's really what this is all about. He's all the way downstairs and the door is closed. You can still probably hear him. Hi, Jerry. Welcome, sweetheart. Thanks for being here. All right, so I guess we can go ahead and get started then. So the first thing that we really want to talk about is the veil, I think, because that's the most important. So the veil is said to be this barrier, invisible barrier between the world of the living and the physical, and then the world of the ethereal or the non-living, or also the spiritual, because it's not just black and white. There are many layers to what exists beyond the realm of the physical. Okay, so what that means is, spirit guides, ancestors, deceased loved ones, angels, elementals.
Pets.
What'd you say?
Oh, pets.
Pets, yes. So, I mean, really, it's about, it's just the physical and then the non-physical. But within that, there are many layers in the non-physical. But we want to really more specifically tonight focus on the different types of energies that might be going on and crossing through this veil. So our ancient ancestors believed that there were two very potent times of the year when the veil between the worlds really became thin to the point of non-existence. And that was said to be around the time of Halloween, or we also refer to that as Samhain to some of the ancient peoples, and which is the time of October, November. Now, the polar opposite time for that is actually April, May. And this is also referred to as Beltane or Beltania to some of the ancient people as well. So these two times were like key, I don't know if I want to use the word portal, but really key points where that barrier between the worlds really does thin to the point of almost non-existent, which means that it makes communication between the two worlds and connection between the two worlds very high to be able to. Okay, and there's that noise again. We're going to get to everybody, so you guys just got to wait your turn there.
I hear it now.
Thank you. So I think it's important to also add that we will not be doing any readings this evening. There's not enough time for it. Maybe that's something that Lindsay and I can talk about doing in the future on another Magick Hour. But at this time, we will not be doing medium-like readings tonight. This is more awareness and talking, okay? So is paranormal activity and communication between the realms available or able to happen all year long? Absolutely. But going to Faye's question, does it matter or is it dependent upon the person? The veil itself is not.
but the ability to perceive is, because it does matter how sensitive a person is. Not all of us are fortunate, because I'm going to say the word fortunate, or blessed enough to open up and come into this world completely open and sensitive. Some of us, like myself, like Lindsay, we actually had to work at it. And then we have a really dear friend of ours, Lori Moore, who will tell you, you know, she's a psychic medium. She was able to do this, and she was very, very young. So it really does depend on your level of sensitivity, and then whether or not you begin to awaken to your own gifts and your own awareness. And so how much, I should say, intuitive work you do or spiritual work you do, it does depend on that. And then, you know, this time of year, though, almost all people, you will hear them say, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I've got something going on in my house, or my kids aren't sleeping at night, or my pets are up barking all night long, or I'm actually getting contacted quite a bit. This is probably the most active time that I get contacted for medium-like reading. So it's because the veil between the worlds is so thin that spirit activity is high. So, I want to get into the different types of energies that there are. Lindsay and I are going to talk about our experiences. Isn't it? Karen said that is so weird. It really is. And it definitely sounds like I hear like broken voices.
Now I don't hear it.
It stops when
I do hear it. I do hear it sometimes.
It stops when I call it out. So that's very interesting. So, I mean, we welcome all that are here to like hang out and just behave themselves and be respectful. But I do call in my own personal team right now. Lindsay, maybe you want to call in your own personal team. And we're just going to go ahead and ask that any interference that's not here for the highest good, we do ask that it be removed from our space and from interfering with our lines of communication. Thank you. All right, there we go. So it's interesting, right? It gets interesting. So a lot of people will say, you know, are ghosts real? I don't know, Lindsay, if you've ever gotten that question, but I have gotten that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually get it from like younger people mostly. I feel like teenagers ask that question a lot if they've had their own experiences. I felt like I've always believed in ghosts, so that was something like I didn't really question. I don't know about you.
Yeah. I've always believed in it, and I always wanted to like have that ability when I was young, and I didn't really did work at it much when I was young, and I really tapped into it much. I was very much drawn to like you know, the magic and the unseen, and working with herbal magic and things like that, and potions. We get in so much trouble for trying to make potions. So, you know, things like that. But it wasn't until I got over, and I want to talk a little bit about this later. I actually had fear. There was a fear for me, and it prevented me. And so when we get into talking about fear, I think maybe we can go into our own experiences and how we had to learn how to step out of fear. But yes, absolutely, ghosts are real. Interestingly enough, Lindsay and I both met how we actually met was mediumship classes a few years ago. So really funny, you know, because who would have ever thought this would have come, you know, this amazing experience. And I think Lindsay and her friend Amy, my friend Amy, they were the first two people that I met in medium class, and it was so awkward because they had been going a little bit before me, and I didn't know anybody, but we three just kind of like clicked, and we had these really wild, amazing, intuitive experiences that really just kind of set the ball in motion, I think, for everything else for us. So yes, we do have spirits communicate with us that are deceased. I have to say that for me, in my experience, they're hardly ever mine. I don't know about you, but they're hardly ever mine. My first, and maybe this will go right into maybe our experiences, because my first experience with mediumship was way before mediumship classes. And I had gone to New Orleans, and it was, I went there to experience the history of things. And, so I had spent a little time in some of the cemeteries doing tours and things like that. And it was at a time where I was just kind of stepping into my more energy sensitive abilities. So I was becoming more and more aware of how spirit energy affected me. And so I went into some of these cemeteries, and I immediately felt like the room, there was no room, mind you, I'm outside, but it felt like the room just closed in. And I just felt like all of this energy, like static electricity energy, just was like whoosh, right on top of me. And I could just, it was kind of like a heebie-jeebie feeling. And at the same time, I was feeling tingling and popping like all over me. And I started to become aware intuitively, because it's just something I just knew. There's spirit energy all over me. And I went there with a little bit of awareness. So I went there wearing crystals to shield myself and protect myself. But, it was New Orleans. So, of course, I was drinking alcohol in New Orleans. And alcohol, for people who do not know this, is very low vibrating. It's got a lot of chemicals in it. And it does lower your vibration. Now, energetically, when you lower your vibration, it opens you up to energies that can match your frequency. Now, that means that my vibration, no matter how much crystals I wore, it was so low that energies were able to connect and attach to me. Now, I did not know this was happening. So after I got home from my trip, I began to feel incredibly, and actually I should just reverse real fast. I'm sorry. The first night that I got to New Orleans, I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and it was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up to go to the bathroom, and as I go to the bathroom, I'm really half asleep. You know that when you guys, you wake up in the middle of the night, you're awake, but you're kind of like in and out, like you're still kind of half asleep. And I heard myself say, I was a painter 300 years ago. But this was my voice in my head. And at first, I didn't think anything of it, but it was like I replayed what was just said in my head, and I immediately woke up. And I snapped out of it, and I was like, whoa, who was that? Because that was not me. Like, I wasn't a painter 300 years ago. Hey, but I'm like, what is that? So it freaked me out. I ran and jumped back into bed. I woke up my husband, and I was like, there's spirits talking to me. And he's like, what are you talking about? Go back to bed. I went back to bed. Every night after that, I started waking up in New Orleans at 3 o'clock in the morning. When I went home, I started feeling incredibly depressed and sad. And I didn't know why. And I felt like weepy and homesick. And I was like, I love New Orleans, but really, like, what's going on here? Well, every night for the next 3 weeks, I would get woken up at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning. And I would see faces flash in front of my mind's eye while my eyes were closed. Different faces, like women that looked like they were in flapper type of clothing, men that were wearing like suits with like bowler hats. It was really interesting. And then I would hear voices talking, and I couldn't quite make them out, so I would try to tune in the middle of the night. And then I heard a voice very clearly say to me, those aren't the good ones. Don't listen to them. That was when I knew it was time to reach out and contact a friend who did energy work. And I said, I need you to do a scan, check me out, and see if I've got attachments. And sure enough, I had the most attachments they said they've ever saw on someone before. It was then I began to realize that my gift was a light in the darkness. And, well, one of them anyway. And it was a little scary, but medium classes kept being presented to me by a mutual friend. And that's how I met you. And I kind of learned to get a hold on this thing. So I'll talk a little bit more about my fear, I guess, in a minute, and how I kind of overcame that. But maybe if you want to share your first experiences, maybe before, during.
Yeah. When I was younger, I was always drawn to like the paranormal books and things like that. But I definitely didn't feel like at least I didn't know what it felt like to connect to spirit. So I didn't know like how it feels now. Like looking back now, I definitely think I probably sensed it, but I just didn't know it was spirit. I definitely didn't learn that until I started going to mediumship class, and we can talk about later what that feels like, because it feels differently, like you said, for other people. I definitely had a fear of the dark for like my whole childhood. I still do. I still something I have to work on. I sleep with I started doing this as a kid. I sleep with a pillow over my face, and I still find myself doing it because I didn't want to see what I would see like in the dark. I was just always afraid like I could see something, feel something, and I always just chopped it up to, you know, typical fears as a kid. Looking back now, I think that a lot of us are sensitive, and we just don't always realize that we're sensitive at that time. It wasn't until I started going to mediumship circle that I learned what it feels like to connect and having to face my fears and things like that, and really having a sensitive child. Having a sensitive child really opened me up to how it can impact others. For those of you who don't know, I have two kids, and my 7-year-old is special needs, and he is very spiritually sensitive. You know, he would not sleep at night, wake up at certain times, you know, kind of interact with things that we couldn't see. And so he definitely is connected. And that forced me to really analyze my relationship with spirit and how I connect, and help me grow so that I can kind of connect with him a little better too and understand where he's coming from. So for me, when I was younger, it was more fear-based. I definitely, I lived in a house, or more of an apartment, that was haunted. A lot of us didn't talk about it until we were older. My sister and I still talk about it sometimes. Like we'll both dream about the same apartment, and we can like see the ghost in our dreams sometimes. And it wasn't anything like malicious, but it was definitely like there was energy there. And so that also greatly influenced, I think, my fear and sometimes that I have at night, because I always felt like something was watching me. So I used to sleep with like a Bible. I remember putting salt around my bed. Like I just remember doing things that was kind of odd that I did just because I had such a big fear. So learning to really overcome that was a huge part of like working with the spirit world and kind of understanding where all that comes from. And when we get into our fears, I definitely have some other things to discuss. That's kind of like where I was and where I am now, kind of like, you know, learning how to do it in a safe space, like at the class that we met at.
Yeah.
So,
And that was awesome. And I think that we really should give props to Ashen because
yes, yes.
Ashen Flanagan, she is local to the Bethlehem, Pennsylvania area, Lehigh Valley area. Ashen Flanagan is a beautiful soul, beautiful teacher, and she was both Lindsay and my mediumship teacher. So we really did grow just in the, you know, the short time that we spent with her going there. She really did make it easy. She really did facilitate that, and
Yeah.
fantastic. But speaking
And
of
safe, it's a safe space.
and safe, yes, and it does. It makes it helps you learn how to step out of your comfort zone and know that you are safe and protected in, you know, in a way to be able to connect with spirits that aren't necessarily here for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. And we'll talk about that in a little bit too, if we can. So, and it's interesting you talked about your sensitive son, because we have that in common. My son also is sensitive. The house that we lived in before this house, I knew the first week that we moved in that the house had spirit and energy. I felt them. The door would close. That was my son's bedroom. It would just close and open all the time on its own. I would talk about it and watch it happen right in front of my face. And so many times I went up and tried to, you know, do the clearing out thing, you know, before I really know what I know today. Because he was terrified, and he would tell me the same things that you experienced. I caught him sleeping with his mattress over his head. Like he pulled his mattress, laid on the floor, and kind of created like a canopy. And when I had asked him, and he may have been maybe 7, maybe 6, when I asked him why he was doing that, he said it's so that the spirits can't get to him and can't bother him. But instead, what they did was they would bang on the wall and make noises and knocking noises to distract him. He would run down the steps really fast because he felt like their hands were on his back. It got really bad with him, and fortunately, it did kind of catapult me into taking a little bit more power into my own hands. And like he's 19 now, but unfortunately, those experiences have really kind of shut his own abilities down because the fear. So hopefully one day he'll let me work with him a little bit more to open him back up. And baby steps there with him. But I think we can go right into the fear and move it right along with that. So for me, I would have, after that New Orleans experience, I began doing readings for people, just my regular oracle card readings. And back when I read tarot, I would start to have sometimes energies come in those readings that were related to the people that I was doing the reading for. It wasn't called in or anything. It just all of a sudden came over me, and I started having flashes in my mind's eye. And I really quickly realized too that I'm a medical intuitive or empath that feels. Spirit likes to show me sometimes how they died through me feeling things. And that's not always fun. So if it did create fear in me, and the dark part of connecting with spirit and what you don't know and how they can connect to you, how they can drain your energy if you're not aware, did really start to freak me out a bit. And I got scared. Well, then suddenly, as if by divine intervention, I was contacted by a paranormal reality show. Many of you who follow me on Magical Me know that I talked about that. Some of the episodes were posted. It was the Ghost Finders, and I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity with them to get my paranormal feet wet and give it a try. And they had me on a few episodes. And I have to tell you that leading up to it, my body was saying, no, 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 do not do this. I was almost paralyzed in fear. But my higher self kept saying, this is something you need to do. This is going to be a powerful change for you. And so I forced myself to do it. And, the team put up with me and my fears, because I said to myself, I never said this out loud. I said, the biggest fear for me, or the biggest scary thing for me with this, is I never want to go into like some sort of insane asylum and have to like spend the night. Sure enough, that was like the first thing that they wanted me to do. So I knew it was lessons. And then I had my guide come in at the time that I was working with, which was the goddess Isis. And she taught me all about divine love. And she taught me all about that fear cannot exist in the same space as love. That love conquers all. And so all I needed to do was bring love and compassion to these lost souls, even some as dark as they were. Because, like you said, not all here are for good. I was able to bring divine love and healing to those energies that were in those spaces. And to this day, the same thing when I go get called to do a house clearing or cleansing. It's the same thing. This is why no fear is very important, because dark energy feeds off of fear. And fear creates more fear. And so the more fear you have, the more power you give these darker energies or very lower vibrating energies. And so the ones that aren't here for our good and want to cause mischief, or worse, this is really giving over your power to them. So if you instead come from a place of compassion and love, it really does allow these beings to, one, not want anything to do with you and leave you alone because they're not having an effect on you. Or two, it allows you to help to heal, to transmute so they can release and cross over. And so that's really what I was doing. And it taught me so much about clearing and removing energy. So I don't know if, you want to share what your fear was.
Yeah. And I still struggle with this sometimes. I still struggle with fear. For me, after doing the mediumship circle, I kind of was in like a hold where I didn't really want to, I didn't know if I was going to go forward doing like mediumship readings or anything like that. I kind of was just like getting my feet wet. And it wasn't this summer, it was the summer before that. I went on a trip with my family and we took our 2 kids. And at the time, my youngest was maybe like 2 months or 3 months old, and we couldn't fly. So we decided to go to Connecticut. We're like, it's not too far. It's like a 4-hour drive. We stayed in a really, really cute cottage. And what we didn't know at the time was that it was completely haunted. We stayed there the first night. And even my husband told me later when he walked in, he said he thought he saw faces in the windows. But when he looked, he didn't see anything. And he kind of dismissed it. And that night we were going to sleep. We decided to separate. We were originally going to sleep like in the same room with the baby and let our 7-year-old sleep in his room. I just heard that sound again. And then we decided to separate. And that night I didn't sleep at all. I felt like people were watching me. I was up the whole night. I don't even think I even really turned off the lights. And the next morning we woke up and we were kind of talking, and he's like, how did you sleep last night? And I was like, not very well. And he even said the same thing. He was like, I felt like people were watching me all night. And I was like, oh my God, me too. So then it just kind of spiraled from there, doors opening and closing, like, with the coffee pot getting turned on and off. And like, you could be standing there and just watch the door shut and nothing touched it. The turning point was the one night where I was sleeping with the baby and he had this like projector light and I had a salt lamp and my salt lamp died. And so I decided to use the projector light and it had like a spinning thing on the ceiling. And I turned it on at first and I was like, this is too stimulating. I'm just going to turn this off and just dim the light and do that as a night light. And all night something kept turning it back on, kept turning it back. I would turn it off. It would turn it back on. And it was like the whole night. And I finally called in my husband. I called in all this, ascended masters I could think of, but I called in my husband's grandmother because she just passed a few months before that. And she was very like a sassy woman. Like she wouldn't take anything from anyone. So I was just like, please protect the kids. Like, I don't care what's going on, just protect the kids. And the kids, the first night they slept horrible. Like Jackson woke up screaming the first night at 3 a.m. But then after that, once I called her in, the kids slept the whole night. Jake and I just were the only ones who didn't. And my husband even said the next morning, he's like, I woke up and someone was hovering over Jackson in their room. And he's like, I thought it was my grandmother. And I was like, oh, snap. I called her in last night. I was like, I'm sorry. I called her in. Like, I didn't know what else to do. Like, it was out of control. So I finally then, I think I reached out to you because I reached my, I started getting sick where your solar plexus is your powerhouse. And I felt like I was losing power. Like I felt like I was being bombarded by the most spirits I've ever felt. And I didn't bring sage. I felt like I didn't have any of my tools. And I felt like I was just like, and it was a lesson. Spirit wanted me to learn a lesson. But I reached out to you and I was like, I'm getting upset. I'm getting mad. I feel sick. And you were the one who really said, like, you can't have fear. You have to come from divine love. And we did, like our ritual kind of that we did through Skype and really tried to kind of heal this space. And it eased up. It allowed us to like get through the next couple of days. And then we went home. And I know it was a lesson. I needed to learn how to use my mediumship skills. I needed to not be in denial, which I think that was part of the reason that happened. So I understand the point of happening. At the time, it was very stressful, though. And I could not understand how people could even live in houses like that, like long term, because I couldn't even survive 6 days. I felt like I was getting sick. I felt, all those symptoms that you get when you have a lot of spirits. So for me, that was huge. After that, I started saying, okay, I'm willing to use my mediumship gifts more. I'll try not to be as scared. You know what I mean? Like
that's real.
Up.
Like it's real. I would get paranormal hangovers. That's what I would call them. Paranormal hangovers after I was gone for a weekend filming. I would come back and literally, like with the weather being warm, I would just lay outside on the ground and just allow the earth to heal me because
that's what I did too.
Knocked out for like 2 days down for the count because it really does take a toll on you. And that's why I think it's super important to be aware of energy. And so I guess we can go ahead and move it along to that and talk about how energies can affect you. So first of all, there are different types of energies. Now, we talked about the little ones the less positive that aren't here for your highest good. So those can be dark, nasty energies, entities, which could be not of this realm. They might not even be human. They could have been human, passed on, had some really dark stuff that they held on to, never crossed over, and just it gets festered and darker and darker. I don't know if you want to necessarily call them demonic. I can't say that, but let's just say it's just not good stuff. Dark stuff, okay? This is like the possession, kind of take control over, attaching to your energy type stuff. Then there are what I like to call waywards. These are souls that aren't for you. They're not part of your family. They're not part of your ancestry. And they're just lost souls that some of them, to be honest, they don't even know that they're deceased. Some of them are just lost looking to get out of here. They feel stuck. They don't know why. Every spirit is different, so I don't really know, for exactly why some of them get stuck. It could be unfinished business. It could be the circumstances and how they passed. But really, they're just looking for a light. And people like us, we just naturally have a light in this darkness. So they attach. And that, even if they're not trying to harm you, they do kind of get stuck to you. And they stick in your energy field. And it can drain your own life force energy. It can make you physically sick. It can make you sad. It can make you feel depressed and you just don't know why. And then there are energies who are your loved ones, who are your even spiritual guides. These could be ancestors. These could be people that you've loved and lost in a life. They could be your pets that you've loved and lost. Then they could be guides in the form of angelic beings, ancestral. So there is a different array. But really specifically, your passed on loved ones, they will never cause harm, obviously. And it could be spooky when you're sensing what's going on, that things are happening in your house. But really, they're not trying to harm you. They're just trying to get your attention. But how you know you have an energy that's not here for you, that might be in your house, that maybe you picked up, maybe the kids picked up at school, maybe you picked it up in the grocery store, you just really never know. And with this veil being so thin, it's really just an open door right now. How you know is my daughter came home from school the other day, and for the past 2 days, she had been acting weird. And I said to her, you got an attitude lately. What's going on with you? I try to, knock that right off the butt right away so that I make her smile and laugh. And she said, well, I'm just sad. And I said, what do you mean you're sad? For what? Did something happen? No, I don't know why. I just feel sad. And that was ding, 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 ding. I said, sweetheart, how many times have I told you that you are energetically sensitive and open? I tell you all the time where your crystals
A sponge.
A sponge. They really do, and we do absorb. So when you start to feel sad and you don't know why, when you're all of a sudden irritated and you're angry, now if it's not something related to your situation in life, like, let's be real, there are things that you can't blame it on a ghost. I don't want everybody to think they're running around with attachments here. But if it's not, there's no legitimate reason for it. You walked into a space and you just got angry, or you felt disgusted, that's a probably dead bringer that you may be dealing with some energy in your environment or hanging around you that's not here for your highest and greatest good. So, Lindsay, maybe you want to briefly talk about what you can do when you feel that way, what you can do?
Yeah, there's things you can do. Worst case scenario, reach out to a healer if you feel like you have attachments, but you can certainly use sage, Palo Santo, clear your space. I actually clear my space pretty often just because of Jackson being so sensitive. So like once a month, I kind of go through my house. You can use, if you have tuning forks, you can use Reiki if you're Reiki certified to help clear your space. I think the thing I use the most is probably calling on my spiritual team. And I really like using, white light or pink light for protection and kind of shielding. I don't know if you want to talk about ascended masters you can call on. I like to call on, I know we both call on Archangel Michael. That's a big one for us. He's very much like the angel of protection. I always feel him come in like bam, like he comes in like a powerhouse. So I call on him a lot. I also like to call in, I know you do too, ones that really represent divine love, because I try to remind myself on top of shielding up, I also want to make sure this space is filled with love and divine love. And so calling in really, Kuan Yin or ascended masters that represent that divine love is really important. I know this is really big in what you do too with, your healing work. So I don't know if you want to talk about any specific ascended masters.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to know that not everybody needs to walk around knowing what your team is. It does take work. Sometimes it takes work to recognize who's here for you, who's working with you. They may not be people that are known. They may not be beings that were ever known. But some of us do work with beings that we are aware of, like Archangel Michael. Like Lindsay said, he is the protector warrior angel. So angels are non-denominational. I want to just say that they work with anybody who calls them. You do not have to be religious, spiritual, whatever. Archangel Michael first loves to work with children, but he will come in and protect whoever calls him in. So if you're having a situation, Archangel Michael, please come into my home. Please remove all negative energies that aren't here for me or my family's highest good. Please leave this space pure and free. You can call on, there is an ascended master known as El Moria, who works on the same level or layer that Archangel Michael does. And he is said to be the protector master as well. He kind of comes in and brings this protector warrior cloak of protection, if you will. So you could always call him in. There is an ascended master named White Eagle, who was a Native American shaman in his life, his last incarnation. And White Eagle actually taught me a little bit about working with entities and dark energies. He actually did work in removing entity attachments and dark energy from people and from places. So he is very much more like the shamanic energy. So if you feel called to work with more of that energy, Native American, White Eagle is his name. Call him in the same way. Please come in and remove any dark energies not here for the highest of my family. If you're talking in terms of divine love, you want to cut, because I like to take out with Archangel Michael, White Eagle, and then I like to put in divine love and light with, say, Kuan Yin, who was the Lady Ascended Master of Mercy, Compassion, and karmic debt and healing karmic debt. Also, Lady Nada, I work with, who is an Ascended Master of Divine Love. And she does work with bringing in that divine loving light to help those that need that loving healing, to help them transcend and kind of leave the physical, or the state that they're in, I should say, behind. The goddess Isis, you know, she's an Egyptian mother goddess, and she does bring in motherly love, protection, and also nurturing and healing and helping those souls to be released that need crossing over. Archangel Charity, she is the divine complement to Archangel Chamuel, who she also works with divine love. So you can ask them also to fill your home with divine loving light and help to bring divine love to any energies that are there so they can be released and transmuted.
Also, crystals and salt baths we can also mention. I actually pulled out black tourmaline. I have like 2 little pieces I pulled out here. So this is a very protective stone that we use. And salt baths are great too, for just kind of detoxing. If you feel like you have, like, I don't know, you get like yuck kind of in your energy field. And if you feel like you need a good detox, you can certainly take a salt bath. Obviously, always read directions, look at the medical information.
Yeah.
Kind of our little warning.
Yeah.
But crystals are really great. I sleep with some in my bedroom. Sometimes I wear a lot to work, actually, just being in an open space around a lot of, people. So I find all of that just kind of all together collectively really, really works.
If you can keep crystals in every room of your house, we'll give you 3 top crystals to help with psychic protection, which is from a non-physical level, so psychic attack, we call that, when negative energy is being directed towards you, or negative energies that are trying to come at you while you maybe are sleeping, while you're, in the house. The most important ones maybe to keep even in your children's rooms, next to their bed, or yours, but obviously, be conscious of these children putting crystals in their mouths. Obviously, you want to make sure that your children are not going to get hold of these. Amethyst is for protection, psychic protection.
And it's hard to see the color of it, but it's purple, but it's really hard to see in here. There you go.
So amethyst is probably your number 1, with black tourmaline also being a number 1. Because black tourmaline, anything black, absorbs negative energy and it helps to protect. But black tourmaline actually takes negative energy and transmutes it into positive. So it is going to shield, protect, and then take that negative and neutralize it. Okay. And yes, Faye, smoky quartz, that's the one I'm holding right now. But I always am a little mindful with smoky quartz because it is a form of quartz. So at the end of the day, smoky quartz does amplify. So if you want to keep it with your other crystals, that's great because it's going to amplify their protection. But the third one that I was going to say is selenite. Selenite is incredibly protective. I like to keep selenite, black tourmaline, and amethyst all by my bedside at night. And selenite actually is a purifying crystal. So it does purify. It will even purify the other crystals that you stick next to it or on it. So incredibly powerful 3 crystals. And again, yes, smoky quartz, you can't go wrong with it next to those crystals, but I wouldn't recommend it on its own just because it's an amplifier of energy. So that means it will enhance emotion. It'll amplify whatever's going on around you. But if you want to work with it in conjunction, put them all together, it's going to amplify them. So that's fantastic. Okay. So I know we wanted to get to questions and we are running out of time. So really quickly, I want to just go into, if we can talk briefly, and then we'll try to get into questions about loved ones and how they might be trying to communicate with you, especially this time, because to our ancient ancestors during during the month of October, you see Mexico celebrates Day of the Dead. The ancient Celtic people celebrated Samhain, and even Christians celebrated All Souls Day and All Souls Night. So this was really a time of honoring your pass on loved ones. And so because it was said to be that the veil is so thin around October 31st, that this is really when they come back to communicate with us, and we're just giving them honor. So it's nothing to fear with that. But they might just be trying to reach out to you just to say, hey, I'm okay. I'll get a lot of people that will say they're trying to reach out to me. Does that mean something's wrong? Are they mad at what I did? Are they mad that I had to sell their jewelry because, we needed to do this? Or are they mad that, so-and-so didn't get this in the will? No. Easy question. No. They're just coming by to say, hey, I'm here. And for the most part, what they really want us to know, the biggest message I receive from people's loved ones is, we just want you to know that it doesn't end after we pass away. We go on to carry on another part of our journey. And though we might not be physical, we aren't bound anymore by those physical limitations. So we're coming back for your healing, just to let you know we're okay. We're here. And on that note, you do not need a medium to communicate with them. You may need a medium to understand, if you don't, their messages, because spirit communicates a different language than we do. They communicate, I think every spirit really does communicate in their own unique way. So it's a matter of kind of figuring out how they do, what they're trying to communicate and how. But also, they mostly communicate through symbolism, and they mostly communicate telepathically. So that means that if you all of a sudden are doing the dishes and your, grandmother just popped on your mind, your deceased grandmother, or your deceased, maybe, parent or something, that more than likely means that they're right there with you. You can communicate with them. They hear you. They do. You can say whatever you need to. You can ask them to show you a sign, and then pay attention, because the signs that you get are going to be the signs that are the way they decide to communicate something to you. So Joey down the street, his pass on loved ones might communicate with butterflies, but yours, don't miss the signs, because theirs might be feathers or coins,
Yeah.
So is there anything that you want to tap and add to that?
Yeah, songs are really big. I feel like spirits leave songs a lot, either in your head or on the radio. Dreams are really big. I'm very big into dreams. That's a whole separate topic, but spirits come into your loved ones, come into your dreams, and sometimes you remember it, sometimes you don't. And a lot of times those dreams will feel a little different. Like even their presence in the dream will feel a little different. And so they're coming a lot of times just to say what you said, that they're fine, that they're there. Just because you don't feel them all the time doesn't mean they're not. My grandmother commented on how she got upset that she didn't feel my uncle, and I tried to explain to her, like, he's always there. If you're thinking about him, like, he's there. It's just that they communicate differently. Like you said, feathers, coins, rainbows, songs, animals, butterflies, birds. So it's just so many different ways they communicate, and it's kind of recognizing those signs, and understanding that they're for you. I'm giving you a heads up that ding was my phone, that I have 15% left, just in case I disappear.
Okay. So, and really quickly, like I said, each one communicates differently. So, for example, I was doing the first time ever a medium reading with my one of my clients, and as we sat down to do the reading, it was the first time I ever did this, first time I ever connected with their passed on loved one. I knew that it was time, because to do I was doing a reading for them first, and then we were going to get to them, but I knew it was time for me to just stop that and get to them, because a butterfly whisked right between the two of us really fast, and then it circled around and did the same thing right backwards. And so I said, okay, so there we go. He's ready, and his sign, obviously for you, is butterflies. And so she was like, I always knew, I thought that, like I've seen butterflies before, and they made me think of him. there you go. If you see something, and I think it happened with my mother, you know, when my aunt passed away, when we connected, actually, Lindsay, you did that for my mom. We connected with my aunt. She said one of her signs was butterflies. And when so I told my mom was like, I knew it. There's these giant butterflies in my yard that make no sense. They shouldn't be there, you know. So you always there's it's something that you know, but you just don't know it till you do, you know. So just be
Yeah.
mindful. I think you can ask them for a sign, communicate to them, you know. And if you feel like you're struggling and you know you're just maybe not getting the messages, you know, like Lindsay said with the other situation, you know, reach out to a healer. You could reach out to someone like us, an intuitive, or you know, another medium or clairvoyant that you may know, and maybe just help get yourself some clarity that way. But yeah, absolutely. They come in, they send songs. It sounds like your own voice sometimes in your mind.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
You brought up one when we did a weird reading where someone moved like they like to move items sometimes, not like to scare you, but like remember the one you did a reading for someone who passed away, and it was my toothbrush, and that my toothbrush always gets moved to different spots, and I always blame it on other people, and it was such a weird thing, and I never noticed that, and that was someone's way of communicating that they were around. So sometimes they can move items, sometimes it's things that you don't fully notice until someone points it out.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And dreams, like you said, are really big. My grandmother, she actually came to me in a dream the night before she died. It was so she hadn't even passed yet, but she was in a state that was she was kind of really already left her body in my interpretation of that. And she communicated with me, and it was very symbolic. The dream wouldn't have made sense unless I broke it down the way I would do a reading. And so when I did, I understood something was off, something was wrong. Sure enough, I found out that, you know, it was really her time. And so I was able to get there to see her probably moments before it was time for her to be, like, you know, released. And so it was amazing because if she had not communicated that to me, I probably wouldn't have known it would have happened, and I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have been able to get other family members there. So you know, pay attention to your dreams because they're also incredibly, it's also a way to communicate. Okay. So, is there anything else that we want to add before we go into really brief questions? Because I know we are out of time, but I want.
I think we got everything that we wanted to discuss. And what's weird is after my phone kind of did that reset, I can see some of the comments, which I couldn't see at all the whole time. So I can see what Lynette said last.
Okay. So I see Faye says she loves selenite. Its energy is strong. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's great is that selenite is so incredibly cheap, and you can get
Yeah.
a lot of selenite. I think I moved my selenite candle. I think my candle holder. Yeah, I don't have it right here with me, but it looks like chalk. Oh, actually, I'm going to unplug it so you can see it. This is a really cool, Angie sent me this, a really cool selenite lamp. This is actually selenite.
Ooh.
See that? And then I have more over there, but I'm not going to get it right now. So selenite is incredibly cleansing and purifying. You know, we set our crystal bracelets because crystals pick up energy.
Yeah.
We take them off and we set them right on top of our selenite towers and let them clear throughout the night before we wear them again. So that's a really great thing. It's great to have. You can get tons of selenite and really do that affordably. Amethyst is not expensive. Black tourmaline is not expensive. They're relatively cheaper. It's just being mindful of where you're getting it from. Go to new age stores if you can, or spiritual stores. I try to veer away from shopping online just because you never know really what you're going to be just getting nothing, not real. So try to maybe go to like a spiritual new age store or something like that. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and open up to questions for the next, we're running a little late, so maybe we'll give it the next like 5-10 minutes. And then we'll have to pop out of here for everybody. So does anybody have any questions? You guys go ahead. We'll answer them in the order that we see them and as best as we can.
Yeah, and mine froze, so tell me what the question is.
I see Jerry too right now says, can we feel free to talk to them? Yeah.
I would say yes. What I always do though is if I feel like, you know, it's one of my loved ones nearby, I always shield up first. Like I always call in kind of my communicator guides, which we didn't fully talk about. But I have we all have communicator guides. And so they kind of help facilitate, and I call my protector guide. And then once I do that, then I usually open my connection to, you know, a passive or loved one, or if I sense that one of my loved ones is nearby, and then kind of use my mind's eye to communicate. I don't see with my vision. I see with my third eye, if that makes sense. And so I'll see symbols sometimes or hear things in my own voice. For me, I can usually tell if somebody wants to connect because I'll get a heaviness on my chest. And almost like I can't breathe. But other people feel it differently. Like one of our friends got dizzy recently when she was getting a medium connection. I know you get different feelings. So
Yeah.
kind of like recognizing how your own body takes it in is important.
I get chills kind of cover down my almost like my whole body, where I'll get like really icy, or I'll get like it's almost like I'm dipped in like cold water, or I'll get like something down one side of me, and I notice when it's down one side, like for me, left side is masculine, right side for me is feminine, so I know if I got a masculine or a feminine spirit. So it's different for everybody, but without even encouraging you to like connect on that level, Jerry, I would say just feel free to talk. You know, if you're standing there washing the dishes or something and you feel like you just want to have a conversation, you can have that conversation in your mind without actually communicating, because spirits do speak, they communicate telepathically. So you can do it that way, or you can literally speak out loud and just say what you need to say. You don't have to try to connect if you feel more adventurous. Although, you know, like I said, without proper protection, I would just caution against that. Just make sure, you know, you call in protection like Lindsay said. But really more so, I think importantly, just say what you need to say and they'll hear you. And then if you need answers for something, like you want to just know that they're there, how they communicate with you, ask them to show you those signs and then be mindful. Okay. And then Faye says, like, let me see, I think I missed something. What about animal spirits? How to figure out what they're thinking when they are spirits? Well, I don't know if you can figure out what they're thinking, more say. They do communicate differently than humans. Or deceased humans. So for me, I will start thinking about my pet Bagheera, my cat Bagheera, who passed away a few years ago. And I don't think about, I felt like it was kind of like what Lindsay said before, like, you know, I don't feel her around. I don't feel her around all the time. But then all of a sudden, I will just all of a sudden start thinking about her, or a picture will show up of her on my like Facebook page or on my phone or something. All of a sudden someone might mention her, or I will, sometimes I will actually see her in the physical. I will have flashes, like it's a really quick double take, and I'll be like, whoa, I could have swore I just saw Bagheera sitting there. And I look at, when I focus my eyes in, she's not there, obviously. That's how I know she's there. It's a little bit more difficult with them because animals only communicate telepathically. You will not hear voices like that. You won't hear this, you know, even your own voice with those words. So it's more of a knowing. I think it's a sensing, like you feel, and like just an understanding. Okay. Does that make sense to you? Okay, and then Courtney says, do you ladies feel that at some point you may offer mediumship class? I knew that was coming.
I had no idea.
I have mentioned that to Lindsay before. I think
I'm more hesitant. I think I'm the one that's a little more hesitant. I don't know why. Maybe that's a fear thing. Maybe it's a fear thing.
I think it's a fear thing. I think yes. I'm going to say yes. I can't say when. But I'm going to say yes, I do think so, because I just know that the way that spirit works, and this isn't the first time it's come up, Courtney. So I think it's leading there. But I think baby steps. I think us just talking about possibly visiting, coming on here, doing a magic hour where we maybe do tap into people's loved ones. That's a big step for us, because neither one of us are very, I have to say there's fear for both of us still, where we kind of always kind of take a step back, like, oh, it's a medium reading, you know, just because it's not what we do as often. And it is a matter of, you know, it's very touchy for people. It's a very sensitive issue. So I think yes. And I think it's just something for us to aspire to. So we'll keep you posted if and when. Okay. All right. So hi, Laura. Welcome. Hi, True.
Oh, no.
We are just...
My phone's going to go.
Okay. We're just starting to wrap this up. If anybody else has any last minute questions, we will go ahead and... If I see Faye. So clairsentience and claircognizance for connecting with deceased animals. Yes, even sometimes clairvoyance, you know, or, you know, I'm not going to rule out clairaudience. Okay, so maybe I should say that, what that is. Do you want to do that? I'll let you take that.
Yeah, like you have different ways that you bring in energy. And so you have where you have like a clear vision. Most people don't know clairvoyance where you see in your third eye, but you have situations where you can have, clear cognizance where you just know information. And that's actually very common and people don't realize that sometimes they just know something and they don't know where it comes from. But that's actually one of the ways people get information psychically or through mediumship. There's, feelings where you feel stuff. And I know you feel more than I do because I tend to make a rule sometimes, like, I don't want to feel you. I'll tell the spirit, like, I'm not trying to feel you. Like, you can just show me symbols in my head. So I tend to feel a little less. Sometimes I do, but you can have where you smell, taste certain things. Pretty much like all your senses can be ways that you sense spirit. And for some of us, one of those is stronger than another. And so with animals, and I haven't had as many animalship readings, but with animals, I feel like theirs is like a lot of, like you said, clear cognizance, like you just know, or like you just kind of get the information, like you said, telepathically, definitely through visions. I feel like you can get messages through visions. I feel like they're very symbolic.
Sometimes I have felt like, for example, today, I actually was loading the dishwasher. It's funny how I always go back to the dishes. I don't know why I do that. Maybe they like to connect.
Because your mind's like kind of blank then.
Yeah.
It's like an open time. Your mind's blank. You're not overthinking.
Really good point. So today I actually felt a cat brush up against my leg as I was doing putting dishes in dishwasher today. And I knew there was a cat there, and something told me before I looked down that there wasn't a cat there. And I looked down and there wasn't a cat. And I do have 3 cats. None of my cats were there. I knew it was Bagheera. So that too, I think so you'll feel them energetically. But I'm not going to rule out clairaudience, which is clear hearing. You're not going to hear it with your physical ears sometimes, but sometimes you may. If you hear a random meow that has no other reason for coming in, maybe they were. Like I said, every animal or every spirit is got their own unique way. And I think another thing to let people know is that what I have learned in my experience, especially with newly deceased people or pets, they don't always know how to communicate right away. It's almost like they have to learn.
They have to practice.
Communicate and what works and what reaches and what doesn't. So it is something to just be patient with, not get frustrated. But pretty much, Faye, I'll say that's the strongest. The clear sentience is clear feeling. And then the clear cognizance is the clear knowing. But you may see clairvoyantly. Okay? And then Liz says, how do you know when your spirit guides are with you?
Well, they're always with you. Is that a terrible answer? Like, they're always there.
They're always always. Your spirit guides are always there. Your personal team, we all have a different amount of people with us or beings. Some galactic, some gods, goddesses, some physical people.
Fairy.
Ancestors. Like, it's very different. You also have spirit animals. It is very, very different how many people and beings that you have with you. So never limit it. Always keep an open mind. But what you can do to start feeling them a little bit more is ask for signs. Ask for them to, okay, so who is my protector guide? Pay attention over the next couple of days. They might show you something. You might start seeing Native Americans nonstop on pictures, TV, whatnot. You might have a Native American protector guide. Who's my teacher guide? Like, who's teach me? So do I have any angels that are with me? You might start seeing synchronicity all over the place of maybe Archangel Gabriel just starts showing up in mouth or symbols or, so really it's about communicating. You do have the power. We all have that power, and they are usually chomping at the bit to help us. We just have to ask them to. Okay. Laura says, I've been connecting with some spirits at Dorney Park lately. Oh boy. I think they've been
I feel like
go ahead.
I feel like she's talked about this before too, like being very open and picking up on energies there.
I can't see the rest of her comment because when it's so much, Facebook kind of shuts it like the rest of it, and I can't click see more. It won't let me. So I'm sorry about that. If you have a question, honey, maybe just try to retype the question. Laura says, the communication with spirit, even for a client, can sometimes be too emotional for you. For us, you mean? I'm going to just say that's what you mean. If not, you can correct me.
I think she means for the reader. Oh, my phone's going.
Oh no. Okay. We don't lose Lindsay.
It's going to power off.
So Lindsay, thank you so much for being here. If it does, I think it just froze on you. I'm so sorry about that. Much love and blessings to you. Thank you so much. I will try to answer the questions as best I can really quickly before it's time to go. So again, it was great having Lindsay here and sharing her experiences, and I hope that you all enjoyed that as well. So let me see if I can figure out now how to shut. Okay, there we go. So the communication with spirit for a client can sometimes be too emotional for you. For me, yeah, because I am an energy sensitive, or clairsentience being one of my strongest abilities, which is clearly feeling, I take on the emotion of not only the spirit communicating with me, I take on the emotion of the person. It's very difficult for me sometimes to keep it together. I do sometimes get weepy and cry with them, and I try to be as professional as I can, but it is sometimes very emotional for me. It's difficult too when I actually feel. Sometimes they like to show me what they passed from, how they passed, and so I might feel their pain. I might start choking. I might start getting pain in my stomach if something happened, so I usually sense it. So I just ask them to like show it to me quickly and take it right back away. So it just really depends. Some spirits are very polite when they come in, and they're courteous and mindful of that. They have personalities over there. Some of them make me really laugh. But then again, some of them I feel sadness. But this is usually only lost ones. This isn't ones that I'm connecting with for a person. Usually lost ones is the one I feel the sadness from. Okay. Yeah. Faye, thank you. Yeah. She has this, have fairy spirit guides. Love fairies. Ooh, the fairies are they're awesome. Connecting with them is so awesome and so fun. And that's very blessing. It's a very blessing to see the fairies or to even sense them. It's a big blessing, Faye. Trudy says, have you ever had in the middle of the night feel like there is something crawling under my mattress? I can't see the rest of your comment, Trudy, because I don't know why Facebook blocks when it's too long, doesn't let me see. So I'm just going to go off what I saw right there. No, I have never sensed that. I have sensed something not fun next to my bed, standing next to it. And that is when I call in protection. I recommend calling in protection before you go to sleep every night anyway, just because when we're sleeping, it is when we are most vulnerable, because this is when a lot of our our teaching happens from like our higher self teaching us what we most need, because we are out of our way. We kind of go to that place where it's like doing the dishes. We're really, we're kind of not focused on something, lets us kind of get out of the way. So we're really vulnerable at the same time when we sleep. So I always call in protection. If you don't know who your team is, that's okay. You can just say, I call on my highest self and my spiritual team that's here for my highest good to shield and protect me while I sleep and keep me safe from anything not serving my highest and greatest good. Keep me safe while I travel, because a lot of us do travel in our sleep to different places and astrally. And just, keep me safe from anything. If there's anything within my space, obviously ask for it to be cleared and removed and keep you protected. So I have never felt that, but I have felt energies that gave me the or I've caught a flash out of the corner of my eye at night, in the middle of the night or something, and didn't make me feel good. Pay attention to how you feel. If you don't feel good about it, it's usually not there for you, okay? Oh, thank you, Lynette. I do appreciate that. I'm so happy that you did. Laura says, I just said spirits were messing with my computer and equipment for the show. Yeah, if I know that you tuned in a little later, so if you catch it back from the replay, you'll see that it was messing with ours too. And that's probably one of the biggest ways that spirits try to communicate too, is through electronic frequencies, or I should say electromagnetic frequencies. So your computers, that's why oftentimes I will actually keep shungite, which is a crystal, black gray crystal, shungite or some selenite or some black obsidian or something near my computer when I'm sitting on it, or even with my phone. I like to kind of keep it away from like my oracle cards. I like to, wear my own crystals while I'm using my phone, just because those electromagnetic frequencies, they do allow for communication. Actually, when I was on the Ghost Finders, they introduced me to working with what they call a spirit box. And the spirit box is like this little handheld radio looking thing that does have different, almost like radio stations, but you can change the frequency and the speed of
the frequency, if you will. And so through those frequencies is how those spirits were able to answer our questions and communicate, and we would get words. Sometimes we would get whole sentences, but for the most part we would get words. So electromagnetic frequencies do come from any type of electronic devices. It is something to be mindful of. Great question. Thank you, Jerry. Blessings to you as well. No problem, Linz. I knew it. I'm just trying to wrap it up for everybody. Trudy says, I had someone tap my stomach when I was pregnant. It was not my inner kicking. Trudy, that Lindsay, you were answering a question. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay. And it cut off the rest of your response, so I can't see it either. Okay. Thank you. Throughout my mattress, it went away, but it is back again. Ooh. Okay. So Trudy, sage, Palo Santo, crystals, so black tourmaline, amethyst, selenite. Get all those. Call in your higher self, call in Archangel Michael or your spiritual team, ask them to assist you in removing any of those negative energies. You really want to walk through every room of your house, not just your bedroom, with the sage, with the Palo Santo, clearing using the smoke safely to clear out, because the smoke does help to remove negative energies, debris, even illnesses and germs within the air. And then the Palo Santo actually brings in a high vibration. So the more you raise the vibration of your space, the more it makes it difficult for lower vibrating energies to enter. Because really, like attracts like. So it has to do with the level of vibration. Does that make sense? Yes, you absolutely can, Laura. That is within your power to do. You can absolutely ask for protection. Absolutely. Have you ruled out stuff from the physical realm? Faye, was your question to Trudy? Thanks, Angie. Welcome. I didn't even see you sneak in. Thank you so much for that. Okay. Okay, everybody, I think I got them all. I'm sorry, it started getting a little chaotic there at the end. Apologies. All right, that's it. We went over a little bit, and I don't want to keep everybody here, but I do greatly appreciate your support, your presence, tuning in for the first live Magic Hour that we've launched and we've done. I do plan on being back here in 2 weeks, 2 Sundays from now, so the first Sunday of November, hopefully. I will announce it. I'll announce the topic. I'll announce my special guest at that time. Next Sunday is my birthday, so I won't be here. But thank you all. I hope that you enjoyed this segment of the Magic Hour. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening and a wonderful week. I'll see you back on Moon Day tomorrow, as long as the divine timing allows. Love, magical blessings, and have a great night.